Hello everybody, thank you for viewing my video right off the bat. First things first, the first 7 minutes of this video, I lost the cell phone tripod footage somehow. So we only have the GoPro and I'm just going to narrate over it because the GoPro audio is horrendous. And my audio is generally pretty horrendous. But anyways, I digress. We have the LIAN PC-O6SX micro ATX case. This case is very nice. It's made of high-grade materials of aluminum, metal, and glass. It has 1,000,000 screws and takes forever to build and is a pain in the ass because it is so small, but it looks gorgeous. As you can see, we are starting just showing the whole thing off there. I forgot what I'm even saying there, but that's the GTX 770. I was lucky enough to get it for free at DreamHack Austin in 2016. This entire build is a pre-existing build. We just moved cases to put it up on the wall to make it look nice. It was just in a standard, black case in the living room. I have a MSI FM2 motherboard with an AMD 760K CPU. This computer is mainly used for just streaming. We don't have television like cable television. It's all streaming and all video games with controllers in the living room. So that's what this build is used for. This case does support micro ATX and mini ITX. However, all the manuals, even the official LIAN manual, doesn't say it supports a mini ITX, which I thought was strange. And right here I'm just pointing out that the IO panel, you have those metal clips. You want to make sure those aren't bent in your way. Sometimes you do the whole build, then you go to plug in something, and then there's a metal clip blocking your port. LIAN has no standard screws for anything that you see through the glass. So thumb screws for the motherboard here. As you can see, we got it all tightened down, and the RAM in it is 2 G.skill Ripjaw X 8 gigs, DDR3 1866 megahertz. So on a riser card where the graphics card will be sat below the motherboard so you can view it through the glass. And since this is such a unique case, you can go ahead and put the riser card and attach the graphics card before doing pretty much anything else. You can do this even before the RAM, but we already have the RAM installed, or the CPU, even that. So there's the riser card. It runs between the metal, and then the graphics card goes below the motherboard. And then we're going to be attaching that because, again, this is a non-standard build, and you can pretty much do the graphics card and the riser PCI Express slot first thing right after the motherboard without any problems. All right, we got the graphics card installed. Just going to be putting in those 2 screws. Again, they're not a standard screw. They look quite nice. They're long. They can be screwed in with your finger and tightened down with a Phillips if you choose to. Again, everything that you see through that glass is pretty. Next, we're going to be putting the power supply into the case. This power supply is a Thermaltake Tough Power 750 watt plus gold certified. Well, I got this on a Black Friday deal a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, for an awesome price. Couldn't pass it up. That's why it's not modular, and you have a giant rat's nest to hide all those unsightly cables. However, fortunately for us, LIAN offers a ton of space behind the motherboard, so wire management should be a breeze. We got the power supply cables ran through, and now it's time to connect the power supply to the case. Again, going back to the unique nature of this case, what you see there is actually the front of the case. The USB ports and the power button are all on the side where the power supply is. So the power supply is actually on the front of the case instead of the rear. Again, very unique, style over function, 100%. This case looks phenomenal, but it is not standard, and it is a bear to work in. It has been my most demanding build that I've done, but it actually looks quite phenomenal once it's all done. As you can see here, we got the power supply attached, and now next after that we'll be installing the hard drives. We have 2 Western Digital Caviar Black. Again, keep in mind this is a older build that is just moving to a nice pretty case. We plan to be getting a SSD down the road. and it has a nice hard drive cage in the front where you can remove the hard drive cage and put the hard drives behind the motherboard if you so desire. If you have a reservoir that you want to put in that place for a custom water loop or a super long graphics card. As you can see, there's a black shroud that goes over your hard drives, so if you do have hard drives on the front, LIAN makes sure that they are covered so you don't see that unsightly hard drive look. And this is the top of the case. As you can see, it comes with 3 120mm fans pre-installed, and we are pulling out the Corsair H75 all-in-one water cooler. Now this water cooler is pretty reasonable, and the radiator is pretty thin. I thought this would be beneficial for that. And we originally wanted to put it over the power supply, but again, style over function, the cable got in the way there. And here you see that I'm unscrewing all the screws. For this portion, I just want to let you know to go to your local hardware store and get a bit that's called a PH2 or possibly a PR2. It'll fit those screws perfectly. I was using a standard P2 screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, and I almost stripped it immediately. And as you can see, here we go. We're just setting down the top, seeing if we're going to be able to fit the radiator, which we find out that's a negative. We won't be able to, so we have to move it to the center location. And we wanted it in pull function, so then we can keep all 3 fans up there. However, we learned later off camera that the hoses are actually in the way and do not allow it to be in pull function, so we had to remove all 3 fans and move the radiator up to give enough clearance for the hoses to bend around the frame of the case. So as you can see, just installing the radiator here, pretty standard. It'll, the instructions will have all the answers for you on what screws to use, and then after that we get the radiator installed, and it looks like it's golden here. This is in the pull function, but in reality we actually had to switch it to a push.
So we had a problem that we tried to fix and tried to find a solution for. The radiator was hitting right here and pushing too far on the cable. So we tried to find a 90-degree turn. I thought that would be wonderful, be a perfect fit, but we couldn't find one, at least not in town. And well, we don't want to wait for Amazon to deliver because we're impatient. So we moved the radiator in the center, but that actually stopped us from having the 2 other fans because the radiator just took up too much space. And also this cutout here was actually a pretty bad design, is that they want you to put a radiator at the top, the hoses come down and hit. So instead of us doing a pull, we had to do a push. So we had to raise the radiator up enough distance for the hoses to be able to go around it. LIAN, if you're watching, you should put a bracket here, maybe like this wide, open this up, and then put another bracket here if you want the strength of the back. But this whole thing just pretty much boned us because we couldn't put a radiator here because the hoses would push right up against the motherboard. We couldn't put a radiator over here because of the power plus the hoses, but the hoses would have been okay. They would have been able to move around. But this, I mean, come on, LIAN, move this down like a centimeter, and you still have all the space down here. Move it down a centimeter, and then that would have been fine. But no, we needed either a 90 up here if we wanted the radiator here. We couldn't put the radiator here with this cutout, and then we were able to do it here, but because of this guy in the way, we have to do it in push only, enough distance to let the radiator move around on our Corsair H75. And another thing that kind of, just while I'm mentioning, these holes right here, we couldn't put the cable through. We actually had to take this whole backside off to put the cable through here. Again, LIAN, why not just cut this a little bigger? Just a little bigger, and then we would have been able to fit this in. But instead, it didn't fit. We even pulled these plastic grommets out and it still wouldn't fit, so we had to take this panel off. It's only 3 screws, but it's just crazy that they could have just notched this bigger and we would have been fine. But anyways, here we are, day 2. You ready, Gabby?
I'm ready.
You ready? Ready for day 2? So we're gonna finish it today. Wish us luck. Just gonna set that down. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay. we're going to attach the radiator. A lot of radiators, they usually come with the thermal paste already applied. As you can see, I'm a goober and I touched it. So we're going to try to just be as gentle as you can with the hoses. And of course, you always want the, Corsair logo upright because that's the most important part. I guess that's as tight as they go. I don't want to go too crazy, but it's solid on there. Take that off. And glass is going to be right there. That should be okay.
It should be right.
Yeah. I'm a little concerned because the glass sheet rests right on this and this hose is bend up past it. I guess it's the struggle that you deal with. Dealing with a narrow case. They said that these are designed for, well, they had designed for water cool, but I don't know. The more and more I see it, the more I see that it's probably better to just have a low profile cooler, an air cooler. And so, system fan, CPU fan. So system fan is here. So you want the, I guess I should talk about that. You want the pump to go to any chassis or system fan of some sort, and you want the fan of the radiator to go to the CPU fan. So that would be that one that we got in the back. Let's set it back up. We are going to come through up here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be long enough.
Huh?
Is that long enough? With your cord.
Yeah, it's perfect. Alright, so next on the list is just connecting everything, hon. This is pretty much back to that fancy Lego analogy. Everything just can only fit one spot. So you don't need dedicated power. Well, you do need dedicated power, but you don't need dedicated power like its own cable for each one. As long as you're, if it's designed that way, it's fine. Like in this case, you can see there's a 6-pin and well, actually there's two 8-pins, so you can use both 8 pins on one graphics card and be fine. There's enough power coming to it, or 2 6-pins or whatever the setup is. But you don't have to have all the way from the power supply, because your power supply will have multiple runs of 8 and 6-pin, and you don't have to run like multiple cables all the way from the power supply if you're new to building. So if it has a jumper on it, you just connect both, you're good to go. Perfect. Wonderful. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so we got those connected. I'm gonna need to look up manual. Okay, so we're ready to continue on. I had to get a manual for the motherboard on where to connect the pins. Okay.
You ready?
That's it. We're done. Now we're just doing the HD audio of the front panel. Sounds pretty easy. It only fits in one slot on the board. Nothing else will let it fit. Sure hope so. I mean, I hope I'm right. I don't know. I've only done this a handful of times, right? Yeah, that's the only one. All right. And the USB 3 header. cables do we have in the back? Is there anything from the front panel left? No? We're all done?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we need
We
the
just got power.
CPU, so that's the 4-pin. There's one that's just a little cube. Should be all by itself. Could be an 8-pin. That's it. Perfect. This guy is going to come through here.
Right here, you said?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so I gotta stick this second set here. There we go. So they don't actually split apart.
Yeah, some motherboards have 8-pin, and smaller motherboards like this one have 4-pin because they don't require so much power. And there we go. Anything you want to take back the slack? That's it right there.
Okay.
All right, so we got everything connected. Everything looks pretty good. And now I actually found on Amazon a new light kit, and I know if anybody's watched my previous videos, like my most watched video, is for the light kit that I had in my desktop. And on that one of the shortcomings of it was that it had a big, like, square block in it that you had to find a place to hide. And I found this kit here. This is the whole thing. Make sure it's in camera. The whole thing is 2 lights, comes with a Y splitter, and then the receiver, instead of it being like that big box, is this tiny little guy, which is quite awesome. And that's the receiver for the remote. And there's no like big box that's like an inverter or a converter of power. So it's just these pieces here. And I thought that was like pretty awesome. So we're gonna be installing that in this case. You want to feed this underneath the graphics card?
Do that.
Perfect. I'm going to connect them, and then we'll take back the slack.
Okay.
So the rest of that light kit, you got, like I said, the receiver connects in, and there's a little connector change to Molex. So that should be pretty easy. And these things are pretty straightforward. You just always connect all the arrows, or the one arrow, to each other. And then this got to go to a Molex. Any Molex. Did you want to connect this last, you think, and then deal with all the wire management?
Yeah, because I mean, they've got plenty for that to go into.
Yeah.
So whatever happens to be
All right.
nearby.
Perfect. All right, it was quite the journey, but we got everything connected. Everyone put everything put in it. I guess I'll just give a quick, like, what I like, what I don't like, I guess. I really love the case. It is a definite style over function case. That is 100%. One thing, I guess I'll start with the positives. Of course, it looks phenomenal. You can see my reflection in the glass, but we have it all hooked up, connected. We're gonna hang it on the wall and go from there. I love that it displays everything, has a nice riser card to hold your graphics card in the front. The glass is nice tint, but not super dark. And, you know, just, of course, displays everything really nice. See myself in that reflection. And then it's all around clean. The back has a nice gap, so all your cables aren't seen shooting right out of it. You can, you know, bundle them up through these ports down here. and then the back is very clean, and you know, just looks all around nice. We didn't put a fan back here. We didn't think it was necessary for our build, but that's an option. What I don't like about the case, but they say it has, you know, radiator and liquid cooling abilities, but in reality, it's so thin and so tiny, and there's no spot to do like I guess you could do completely custom loop, but for an all-in-one loop like we chose, it's so tight, like the hose is pushed against the glass. Luckily, it's enough bend that you can manage. And I don't like that you have to only do it in, can't see anything. I don't like how you have to remove the other fans if you want the case to have a radiator on the top. I guess you can do like a dual radiator or a three-way radiator or three fan radiator. But then if you're doing a custom loop, I mean, there's nowhere to put the reservoir unless you go around the power supply and put it somewhere down here. Maybe remove the graphics card, remove the hard drive cage would definitely give you room for a radiator. So I guess a custom loop would definitely be your better bet, to just do a full custom bend. And another thing I don't like is that these two holes are so small. They should have just notched them out bigger, and then you'd have room to put your power through a lot easier. And also, I'm surprised it's a wall hungable case. You can hang it on the wall, and there's no notch on the bottom here. I thought they would notch that out because that wouldn't really affect vertical or horizontal. Just put a notch at the bottom. That way we could have put all our cables together, ran them straight down and then through the bottom, and you wouldn't have to have them come out first and then go down. Just some minor things, but I was just surprised that there's no notch down here to just run straight down off the wall. But that's pretty much it. Another thing minor is that you hang it on the wall, but there's these metal screws that protrude that would most likely scratch or damage your wall. So we just put little felt bumpers on each one. Not a big deal again, it's just minor things. But all around, I think it's a phenomenal case. I'm really digging it. Looks just great all around. We put some lighting in it. We'll see what that looks like later when it's all connected and hung on the wall. And it's gonna go over there. Everything's a wreck in here because we've been pulling everything out to make it work. We're gonna hang it up there in that wall. And then there's Ruby. Hi, Ruby. We've had it for 1 week now, and everything's going great. As you can see, the lights look good. And from the build, you can see that we removed the section that went around the hard drive cage. It just was extra bright and didn't have really a uniform glow on everything, so we removed that, which was pretty easy. And if you look around the back, see the thickness on the wall. It hugs right on the wall, looks great. The glass looks sharp, lights look wonderful. And if we back up, you can see that we are connected to a 55-inch Samsung LCD TV. And if you look below, you can see that all the cables are all hidden away. And there's Ruby. Sup, Rube? She's getting in the shot. But there it is. The only thing you see is the cable running down, going straight behind the TV. We didn't really want to pop holes in the wall, so we just put some Velcro and went that route. And it looks great. All around, great case. As we discussed during the build, the shortcomings were the power supply causing trouble with the cable hitting the radiator. We ended up, as you can see right there, removing all the fans along the top, unfortunately, and just keeping the radiator in the center. Down the road, we could potentially put a 90-degree plug for the power and then squeeze the radiator above the PSU and then add another couple of fans, because the only problem was, just one other fan, because the radiator would bump the other fans. Other than that, it's a great build. Does take time, but looks phenomenal. I would say that the time it takes is well worth it, and it doesn't distract from movie watching or anything like that. And of course, we can turn off the lights if needed, but it just looks great. It's a nice wall piece. Turn your PC into a wall art. So that's all I pretty much have to say. I'm sure people might have some questions, and but all in all, it's a great build. Looks wonderful, and I would highly recommend if you have the wallet to afford it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.